Good morning. This is Secrets from the Inside, episode 0027. It's Greg Meekin, Secrets from the Inside. I'm Val Wilson. I'm thrilled to be your facilitator and co pilot this morning. Friday is a special broadcast day. This is a surprise to all of you. We thank you for joining us and sharing this broadcast. We're streaming in many countries this morning, so let us know where you are joining from. And I just want to welcome all of you and let us know, reach out, comment. You can do it the old fashioned way, inbox us, or you can just comment and let us know where you are. So we are having some technical difficulties this morning with Greg's Rumble channel. I'm just getting alert that there is a technical issue this morning. There's Greg. Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good morning, Val Olson.
Good morning.
Do you know what I always say to my Generation X students, folks that I mentor, you, is I always say Generation X really introduced me to technology. But I always ask them because they actually believe seriously that technology is the answer.
Right.
And I always say, well, what if it doesn't work? So to have my Rumble channel not up, that's just fabulous. I just love that. You can't get better than that.
Yes, it looks like we need to call Jordan. So it's saying that this can occur if the RTMP server URL or stream key is incorrect. And they're going to keep trying and letting us know if it's resolved. So those of you at Team Rumble, just get on that. That would be wonderful because Greg's new channel is on Rumble is Secrets from the Inside. And this is where you'll find all of Greg's clips. He's got so many YouTube clips. Just search out Greg Meekin. You can go on his website as well, gregmeekin.com. And but we're thrilled for this live show and just want to welcome our guests this morning. So we're following on Facebook, on YouTube, tentatively Rumble, if Team Rumble can get that up and running for us. And
people don't, Val, a lot of people don't know Rumble is owned by Dan Bongino.
Yes.
The quote Secret Service legend who is going to be in Trump's cabinet. There's a side note before this is a politics free zone today.
Right.
But Dan Bongino and Rumble was created to compete directly against YouTube as an uncensored platform. So I'll have to send a text to Dan and let him know, but you need to have your Rumble up when I need your Rumble up.
I'm actually on it. I'm doing it as we speak. I'm sending him a quick message and don't drop the ball. Okay. I'm letting him know your Rumble is down. I would call this a national level security breach, possibly. So no excuses.
Oh, isn't that great? Let's just, let's take a second. Let's entertain everybody with our intro. My intro, Secrets from the Inside, because even if it ends up being like a 4-minute show, okay, because you never know in life, right? And it sounds funny, but you've been shut down. I've been shut down. I've been hacked, blah, blah. So again, welcome to technology. But as we await our secret guest today is Tanner. It's not secrets all over social media, and there's quite a buzz going, Val. Our special guest is Tanner. And that is my son. He's my 44-year-old eldest son who I've had since he was 4 years old. Now lives in beautiful Bremerton, Washington. He's got an amazing story. We'll tell you about that, all that stuff. But we're waiting for him. We actually had to send out brand new links to folks. Again, refreshing our studio. So don't I sound like I know what I'm talking about, Val?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Let's go to the intro, and then on the other side of the intro, because remember, I produce the show live, right? I tell everybody what to do live. So you ready for the intro? And then we'll pick that up on the other side as we're awaiting Tanner to enter backstage.
First, there was Dueling Citizens. Now, Secrets from the Inside. Author Greg Meekin nails it again. Introducing Secrets from the Inside Radio Show. Raw, unscripted, uncensored, uncanceled. Secrets from the Inside starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, 'cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. You got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back 'cause baby, you're the one.
Welcome to Secrets from the Inside, episode 0027. This is Greg Meekin, and I'm your facilitator, Val Olson. Thrilled to be here this morning. And today's episode is titled 0027 Tanner. So, Greg, take it away. Introduce Tanner, tell our audience a little bit about him, and anything else you want the world to know this morning.
Oh, that's so awesome. Matter of fact, by the way, welcome to the show, Val. We've been running really, really, really hard for the last like 24 hours. If I start losing my voice today, just go ahead and cut me off. I've been working since started a little late today. I started at 3:30 a.m. my time, a little late. So indeed, if you even want to go single screen with me now, I'll do a quick little intro like a minute or two. And Tanner will be contacting you for a fresh link. Okay, so
Yes.
that's await. It should be already. So anyhow, just go single screen with me, and we'll start the show here as soon as we get. We are indeed awaiting the famous Tanner Thorpe at tannerthorpe.com. Always be closing. ABC, everybody. ABC. I'll start this morning, and it's just going to be a great show. We're scheduled for 59 minutes. 59 minutes. So at 59 past the hour, we will be signing off. As a side note, I'm going to have Tanner take the last probably minute or two of this show. So it'll be at about 57 minutes. And I'm going to have him give what I call his signature prayer. Okay, so in most of the shows, it's so wonderful. In most of the shows that Val and I host, for some reason, they always end up in prayer. You know, we have Father Mike Pacella IV. We've done with 200,000 live listeners. He always ends Continue Mission show with a prayer. So that'll be my first secret of the day. We're going to have Tanner do that. We're waiting for him to get indeed in studio. This is going to be very cool. That's a show about Tanner. You will see the themes of this show are going to be, number one, this is a politics-free zone today, folks. I get texts and emails all the time about politics, and all I want to do is talk about hockey. Okay, so we'll go hockey, and I also like to talk about two things, and anyone who knows me knows this, and this is what I live for, this is what I live for, this is what I'll die for, and it's fatherhood and mentorship, period. And full disclaimer to start, Val. By the way, it's so cool. Tanner looks great on camera. I see him in the backstage here. It's so great. StreamYard's great, by the way. Not even a plug, but StreamYard's great. But for me in life, it's all about fatherhood and mentorship. I disclaim right out of the gate. If I get emotional today or weepy today, again, just cut me off the screen, Val. I can't. Seriously, I watched Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. Remember that Kevin Costner guy? I watched that about 50 times, maybe 100 times, and I still can't get through Field of Dreams without crying at the end. There you go. Field of Dreams is not about baseball. It's about fatherhood. There's my secret of the day. We've got others, but I want to get Tanner on sooner than later. You're going to do, Val, all the plugs where we can hear all our work. I got so much. I have so much. Before I begin, I just want to say too, am I the only guy in the world right now who thinks the world is crazy? I'm just saying 2025, everybody, just get ready. I can't wait to see the headlines at the beginning of every day. You know, We got drones. Okay, so that's all I'll talk about for now on that. But lots and lots to talk about. Before the show started, we were accumulating old photos. I couldn't believe it. You get emotional and you go back to photos with, babies and not so babies, grown ups, and things like ice arenas and all that fun stuff. And I made a real quick decision here before we went on air that we might just do another show. There's too many of them. And they're all great. And so maybe we'll do another show, maybe 0028 or 29 or something like that, where it'll just be a photo gallery, and we can all sit on here live and just cry with each other. How about that? I'm going to turn it over to you, Val. I'm going to introduce my son Tanner. He's ready to go, and you just take it from here. Do a quick intro, but take like maybe a minute or two to intro Tanner because he's been such an impact on your life. You interviewed him 1 year. Oh, this is the 1 year anniversary, December 7th. December 7th, 2023, we had Tanner on for, I think, a 2-hour show, just like this. And it's on YouTube. It is on YouTube. So this is the 1 year anniversary. What perfect timing. Back to you, Val. You can go single screen or whatever you choose from here.
Okay, well, we're thrilled to have Tanner join us this morning. And it was a great episode. It is a 1 year anniversary. And for those of you that are playing catch up, you can go on youtube.com, Greg Meekin, and check out that interview with Tanner. It was just enlightening. It was personal. We went all over the place, and Tanner just was so open and authentic with his journey, where he was at as a dad. And I loved hearing just that thread through life of him being a chef and using it to bless people. But there's more to it than just preparing a meal. And he really broke it down. So I hope he gets into just his life journey today and shares the latest of what he's up to. Without further ado, this is Tanner Thorpe. Welcome to the show, Tanner.
Well, thank you so much. Good morning, Val. Good morning, Dad. So glad to be here. Dad and I were talking earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, and we were talking about how it's been a year since we've done this episode, and we should probably do a kind of catch up a 1 year later. So here we are. I'm excited to be here. I loved the show we did last time. And I'm excited to kind of catch people up on where I'm at now. There's been some changes. So
looks like you've been on a lot of shows. I kind of, did a background search, which I like to do on my guests before they
Mhm.
get in the seat, and you've been busy. You're no stranger when it comes to the neuroplasticity. I said that wrong,
Right.
but to
Right.
that world. But you've been on lots of different segments and shows. So, any highlights through 2024 that you want to touch on?
Oh, so many. 2024 was it feels like it's the end of a cycle. So this has been building, trying to piece together and build what I wanted my business or what I felt my purpose really was, and how do I align my purpose with my values and a revenue stream and try to make that work. And I've done a number of deep work type of exercises, but also there's God always shows up, right? And there's always a sequence of events that happens that if you're paying attention, you can discern the direction that God wants you to go, or what He's really speaking to your heart. And I've known for a long time that I have an ability to relate to people, and that I have a desire for a deeper understanding of myself, which in turn helps others who are looking for a deeper understanding of themselves. And so, I've always had an affinity for public speaking. I've always had an affinity for the stage. I've never been shy. And kind of a nature of that is that, as we were young, we moved around a lot. And I went to 11 different schools before I graduated high school. And so, I was regularly the new kid. There was a couple of schools that I went to, 2 years in a row, or I had gone to a school in a local town, and we had moved down to Florida. And when we came back, I went to that school again. So there was some history there. But regardless of that, I was always the new kid. And so I've been very comfortable in my own skin of making friends easily, interacting with others, trying to understand kind of the nuances of the human condition, and then throughout the course of life, you try to hone in, what does that mean? What does it mean to you as an individual? What does it mean for your purpose? What does it mean for the greater thing that you feel, your altruistic needs, and the greater things that you want to be a part of in the universe and that you want to give back? And of course, how do you decide whether it is something that you care deeply enough to try and make money on, or whether it's a hobby? And both are very healthy and good things. So what my path has led me to over this time, and I'm sorry, I lost you guys on the video.
No, we're here. We're here.
Okay.
Screen.
Just went to single screen, so I wasn't sure if we had a link issue or something like that. But for me, as I look at my life, as I look at what I have conversations with people about, to allude to what we talked about in a previous episode, some of my guiding principles and when the foundational ways that those came about, but also what my dad just alluded to in the craziness of this world. We are so conditioned to believe that either we are capable of doing absolutely anything, which is ridiculous. You can't do anything. Or that we are conditioned to believe that we'll never be enough. And so for me, the two things that are the most important to me in how I present is that if I have to be resilient, because life is going to require us to be resilient, that I recognize that in that resilience is strengths, opportunities, and lessons for me. And if I'm willing, then the other thing that is the most important to me is my authenticity. And so with my business and what I've really been driving towards is, how do I help others recognize that there are resilience practices that they can use that aren't focusing on the negatives or what is wrong, but is focusing on your strengths to help you achieve the growth that you're looking for, that is towards your purpose, and to help you become your most authentic self.
That's amazing. Wow. That's a
and
lot.
If you want to learn more about it, head over to tannerthorpe.com. No, right on the end of Thorpe.
Tanner, one thing I'll have you follow
ABC,
up on there. That's right. It's called front loading it. You do it at the beginning of the show. Okay, before I digress, touch base with your corporate hoodie. Tell me what that is real quick.
Oh, yeah. So
take that like 30 seconds or a minute.
Okay, so my buddy Chris Soden, he owns a company called the Soden Group, and they retrofit and do contractor work in senior living communities, specifically high-end senior living communities. And he, I noticed one day, like everything he had was logoed. I mean, the pen that he had said the Soden Group, and the shirt that he had said the Soden Group, and he just started the business like a year and a half earlier or 2 years earlier. But I said, wow, you have all this stuff. He said, Tanner, you logo everything. You logo everything. Like, so I had the logo created, and it says Tanner Thorpe, and it's all over everything. I try and put it all over everything. But then I really got into the Steve Jobs mentality, right? And Steve Jobs was notorious for wearing the same set of blue jeans, same pair of blue jeans, and the same black turtleneck, right? And I have what I like as my corporate logo. So I went ahead and bought some black shirts and some white shirts and a black sweatshirt and a white sweatshirt. And I just wear those all the time now. I got my Steve Jobs logoing.
That's great. That's great. Just a quick update here. We actually have a secret guest today that's trying to parachute in. This is to update Val. It will likely be, if so, 45 minutes out to the hour. So literally 15 minutes before the end of showtime, if that's the case. He's running a little late. He's going to try and drop in. Also, we have maybe another secret guest that might parachute in as well. That'll be, I'll keep you posted on that, but watch the studio on that. So, but otherwise, Tanner, I want to have you follow up real quick on one word, really, authenticity. Because you mentioned it in your great teammate to begin the show and all that stuff. But authenticity, I learned long ago, 6 months ago, when I published about it, that being authentic was the most powerful human energy that can emit from a human. Okay. So
I'm so glad you're talking about this. You know where that comes from?
So take, if you would, because we might have some busy stuff coming up. You never know. But take like a couple of minutes and just talk authenticity, what it means to you and blah, blah, blah. Go ahead.
Well, so I'm so glad that you said that, because this is something that I had in my show notes that if we got around to it, and I was going to talk about authenticity anyway. But so have you heard of the Sfti scale? Spane.
No.
Okay, so the Sfti scale is exactly what Greg's talking about. So they did a study, and they were trying to find out what is the most powerful human energy. And what they found through this study, and there's a great TED Talk on it. The TED Talk's where I heard about it. So, and shout out to my brother, Dr. Amin Sanaya, SAN Consulting, Crave Leadership Model. He's the one who sent it to me. It was fantastic. But the Sfti scale, specifically what they found was that authenticity is 4,000 times more powerful than love. Think about that.
Wow.
Authenticity is 4,000 times more powerful than love. That's astonishing to me. I mean, like everything that I have in me believes that love is the most powerful force in the universe, right? Like it's so grounded in God is love. I mean, it says right here, 1 Corinthians 16:14, let all you do be done in love. Well,
Tanner, how does that apply to your daily teaching of people? Go for it.
Yeah, let me get to it. Yeah. So what this transcends to me is that if authenticity is more powerful than love, how do you harness it? How do you show up as your most authentic self? How do you determine who you really are? Because that's what authenticity is. That I am so in tune with who I am that I'm not afraid to show that to anyone. Right? And that's where we start to get shady. That's where we start, none of us wants to expose the dark parts. I was picking up my son from school a couple of weeks ago, and there was a guy who was waiting for his son, and he was wearing a shirt, and it said, what you do in the dark matters. Right? And I looked it up because it resonated with me, right? What you do in the dark matters. And why it resonated with me was because we all have those things that we don't want to bring out into the light, right? And in order to be authentic, we have to be okay with those things if they get dragged out into the light. And so that takes a deeper inner journey to say, do I really resonate with what this is, right? If you want to be a jerk and that's authentically who you are, if you're an old curmudgeon and authentically you just want to be left alone, you're authentic, right? Everybody knows who that person is. It's the ones with delusions that aren't listening to the other person. They're not actively listening. They don't have the emotional intelligence to say, why is that person like that? And are they happy like that? Are they okay being like that? Right? So often in life, we mask ourselves, right? I mean, Don Miguel Ruiz wrote about it in the 4 Agreements, right? That the world is a mask. Everything that we present outwards is a mask, right? It's the presentation of what we want others to believe about us, right? How do we become so comfortable with ourselves that we say, it doesn't matter what you think of me. It doesn't matter what you think of me, because I know that I am of good character, that I am authentically me, that I am doing the work that it takes to determine whether it's in alignment with my morals and what I believe is right. Eckhart Tolle's written about it for years, the dissolution of the ego. You know, I mean, I think one of the most powerful questions that we can ask somebody to really understand initially where their mindset is. And if when you head over to when you head over to tannerthorpe.com and you contact me and we have a consultation, probably the very first question I'm going to ask you, beyond the superficial, you know, getting to, who are you, how are you, the very first question I'm going to ask is, who are you? Who are you going to tell me you are? Because what I find is 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, people tell you what their job is. And the real reason that we ask that question, what do you do? Is because we're judging them and we're judging ourselves, right? We're judging the precedence that we're going to give them based on what position they have, or whether we feel like we are superior, equal, or below that position. I learned a long time ago that the people in the room are just people in the room, right? I mean, Dad, you've been one of the biggest proponents to me that you treat the janitor the same way you treat the CEO, right? And so having that understanding, I've been comfortable walking into almost any room and walking up to whoever the big boss is, right? Whoever the players are, right? I'm not afraid of that because they're just people, right? And I tell you this, I catch myself all the time on this very thing, right? Like the battle with the ego.
Oh yeah.
Is the biggest battle that we're ever going to face. And so when we're talking about authenticity and we're talking about how Tanner Thorpe can help you become more authentic. Well, we're going to look at your life. We're going to look at your values. We're going to look at what your examples are, who your mentors have been in your life, who your ideal mentee would be.
Right. And
we're going to determine what your resilience practices are, because life's going to kick you in the teeth. Right. We're gonna determine who your giants are, because all of us are Davids. Who's your Goliath? What is your Goliath? I'll tell you about my Goliath right now. Let me tell you about my Goliath right now. Okay. So you guys know that I have 2 boys that live up here in Washington. So a series of events. So 6 years ago, I moved away from my boys. And I moved away from my boys because I felt God calling me, saying, Tanner, if you step out, I'm going to give you an experience that when you come back, you will have more time than you ever did before with your boys. And I stepped out in faith. And it was the hardest decision I've ever made. For 6 years, almost 6 years, every single day I wrestled with God of what were you doing? And you take into account, you know, I was flying back to Washington every month. You know, significant financial strain. And you know, because I have to be a presence in my boy's life. So about 8 months ago, shortly after, or maybe it might have been the same trip that I was here in Washington and we did our last radio program. My oldest boy, Adrian, was at a basketball game, and my youngest boy, Sawyer, was playing in the back hallway with a friend. And I had walked back there just to check on him. And his friend looked at me and said, Sawyer, is that your dad? And Sawyer says, yeah, but really he's more like my stepdad. Oh, I said, no, buddy, I'm your dad. He said, I know, but really you're more like my stepdad because you're only here once a month. Right. So then around that same time, you know, my good friends who are like parents to me, they both individually came to me and said, Tanner, you know, we're getting up in age. Our house is too much for us. This is a wonderful couple who've opened up their house for a number of years to my boys and I. When I come back, this is where I'd stay. They said, Tanner, the house is becoming too much for us. We just really need some help. Would you consider moving back? And I said, you know what? It's just not quite the right time. So then I had an opportunity. And there was a vice president position that came up in California, and I had the opportunity to interview for it. And it looked, and there you could be based out of Seattle, so it looked like there was a way for me to be coming back. And so I started putting things in motion, and unfortunately, the job fell through. But what I realized in that time was that it's time. You know, everything was saying you got to get back, right? So I put in my resignation at my job, my corporate, chief culinary officer position. My boss at the time says, hey, you know what, you can leverage. I had a non-compete, but he said you can leverage our relationship with the contract company that we had. So I had a couple of jobs lined up. I mean, just good to go up here in Washington. And at the last minute, he pulled his recommendation for me. He was frustrated that I was leaving, and he enforced the non-compete. And so I found myself in Washington, essentially living in my friend's basement, without a job. Everything had fallen through. I'm back in Washington. I've liquidated all of my retirement. Credit cards are maxed out. I'd say I have a Goliath in front of me, right? But I know that I have a 100% success rate of surviving bad days. I know that my God is bigger than my problems. I know that just like he sent ravens to Elijah in the desert, my God will protect me. My God will take care of me. And so I was at a crossroads, right? Do I continue moving forward with this business that I've been building, with this purpose that I believe that God is driving me towards? Or do I retreat? Well, my authenticity and my character says I can't retreat. If God's put something on my heart, I have to move forward with it. If God told David that he could pick up a stone and sling it into the head of Goliath, and that he would reign supreme over that giant, well, you know what? I believe that's my God. Right? And he's going to help me slay the giants that I have in front of me. And I know that I've done enough work on the resilience piece to know that I can weather these things.
Wow.
I
That's amazing.
I second that. Wow. I promise, Tanner, I promise not to get like weepy and like a baby today. Okay, thanks. Anyhow, I want to do, because indeed this is a 59-minute show, I want to do a couple of shout outs. This is really nice to hear these messages and stuff. But what's so cool, just a quick shout out. Mike Phillip, Pastor Mike Phillip up in Alberta. You remember Mike from American Rock Radio?
Yes.
Well, and he shouts out, I know he wishes you the best, because he knows what it's like to be an entrepreneur and you step out on your own. What you haven't told people, Tanner, is you gave up everything.
I did.
To move back to Bremerton to be close to your two boys.
Yeah. I mean, you hear about people walking away from their corporate jobs for passions. To go back to what I said earlier about one of the most important questions that you can ask yourself is, who am I? Right? And am I reflecting on myself based on the position that I do? We talked about it on the last radio show. I hid behind a misdirected identity for years of being a chef, right? I was a chef. I was Tanner the chef. I wasn't Tanner the father. I wasn't Tanner the child of God. I wasn't Tanner the community member. I wasn't Tanner the guy that you could call on if you needed a ride, or you needed. I didn't feel those things about myself. I was a chef. My identity was all mixed up in what I was, and so I think there's so much there's there's so much power in letting go. And it doesn't mean that you give up. I have no give up in me. But when I changed my profile on LinkedIn, I didn't put coach. I mean, I did. I mean, it says coach in there if you dig down, but the very first thing that it says on there is child of God. The very second thing it says is father of boys, right? What is the most important impact that I'm going to have on the world? Because obviously you can tell I care about my purpose, right? I care about, I want to help people, right? But what if the most important impact that I have on the world isn't through me? What if the most important impact I have on the world is through someone else? What if the most important impact that I have on the world is through my children? And if I'm not there to make sure that I have that impact, who is? We talked about it on the last show also, about whoever wins the kids wins. You know, I could not in good conscience sit there any longer away from my children and let them grow up without me. Warren Buffett said that the only currency that we have is time. It's the only currency we have, right? So when I looked at what do I need? What do I need? I need a roof over my head, and I need to be close to my boys, right? Everything else will work itself out. That's a massive amount of trust. It's a massive amount of faith, right? Because everything in society screens us. And I said, you know, like credit cards are maxed out, you know, the retirement fund's liquidated, you know, I mean, like finances are gone, but it's okay. God will provide, you know, and I was writing down stuff last night that I wanted to talk about. And you know, I feel very blessed to have been on the journey that I've been on, and to dig down on things that sometimes may seem superficial. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about manifestation, because I think that, you know, when you go into the life coaching business, you see a bunch of, or any kind of personal development coaching, you see a lot of kind of the spirituality things that weave in, and it's easy to just dismiss them. And so one of those things is manifestation. I think that there's this misunderstanding, and I think it's a miscommunication also in the way that it's presented to people, that if you do manifestation techniques, that all of a sudden you're going to manifest whatever that is right away, right? So you know, you're in a financial situation that's rough, and so you're trying to manifest, you know, $1 million. Matter of fact, I watched a video yesterday that was this lady. She said, I'm going to manifest $1 million, and I'm going to prove it in the video. So she explained her manifestation techniques, and then she cut away, and then they brought in a new video, and it was her showing her account, and it had reached $1 million, and that was the key word. It had reached $1 million. It's not like she manifested it and it just appeared, right? She kept an intention in her head that was driven towards something that she wanted, right? I kept an intention in my head that I wanted more time with my kids, right? I manifested what I have right now. It may not look exactly how I wanted it to look, but I manifested it, you know, and God delivered it to me. Greg had a dream to build an ice arena in a community that was underserved and did not have ice. He dreamed about it. He vision boarded it. He goal set it. All of that's manifestation techniques, right? So when we're talking about authenticity and we're talking about resilience, you know, what are some of the tools that we can use to dig down and work through those? Intention setting, mindfulness techniques, meditation. Right? Meditation's tough. I meditate every day. It's hard, right? Our brain's just constantly going. It's constantly wired. You know, so the more that we can the more that we can lean in to who we really want to be, who we really are, and what do we really want, what really matters to us. Everybody's heard it a million times that the richest people on their deathbed, what they really wanted at the end was more time with their loved ones. They didn't want more cars. They didn't want more clothes. They didn't want more houses. All of those things are nice. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have my coaching business be so thriving that I could be sitting on a beach, in Hawaii every day, doing my one-on-one coaching with groups or, things like that. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Right. But I think at some point the beach would lose its luster. What I really want is I want to be able to present in the way that God is developing me. I want to be able to present that to the people that he takes me to. And whatever purpose he intends for that and whatever impact that has on his will for the world, that's what I want. I don't know if I mentioned it on the last program that we did, but one of my favorite quotes is by a lady named Irma Brombeck. And she said that, I hope that when I show up in front of God, that I can look at him with nothing left and say, I used everything that you gave me.
Tanner, please hold that thought. You got a lot of love pouring in right now through social media.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm like a Gen X guy now. I can multitask.
No, you can't.
Right?
You can't. I watched you trying to text before the show. Are you kidding me? That was painful. I didn't know they had rotary phones for text messaging. Holy mackerel.
Remember I wrote in my book that labels, people get all pissed off because they're labeled, like people from Toronto or whatever, but labeled. But Colin Coward from ESPN Sports Now said that labels are usually correct. If you think Detroit's a violent city, it's correct label, blah, 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 blah. So I did want to.
It's like that stereotypes don't just come out of anywhere, right? Stereotypes they don't just come out of nowhere.
I wanted to just shout out some folks who are watching. I mean, word for word here. These are great folks. Okay, this Grizz Paschke, he's so awesome, Tanner. He follows me. He follows Mike Russell. He follows Val Olson. Grizz Paschke. Randy Natman. Randy Natman. We had Randy Natman pick you up when we were rushing to the hospital to have the twins born, right? He said, "Hey, Uncle Randy's
Jorge Zapata."
Oh, we'll talk pregnancy stories and all that stuff, man. We got a lot. We got 40 years. Do you know it's the 40th anniversary of me knowing you? Randy Natman, Laura from Airbeam Fiber Optics in Arizona City, who set up fiber optics in my condo so that I could do radio well, because Arizona City was awful. It was a fiber optic in our little tiny Arizona City. It was out projected for, I think, a year or 2 years out. True story. Laura, who I call Sally, Laura, she navigated getting fiber optic installed in our condo complex in 21 days. And they installed my, it's so cool. They installed my condo, mom and mine, before they even installed the office. How's that? Huh?
Awesome.
We got Grizz Paschke. So we got Laura, we got Jane Collins, Janie up in Paulsbo/Bremerton. Sabrina was from the Colton's days at Sterling Honda. My days at Sterling Honda.
I remember Sabrina. Yeah.
Sabrina, and now she's a mom. Dude, she's got 2 kids now. I'm going,
Sabrina.
Oh my God. Huh? What was that?
I said, congratulations, Sabrina.
Oh, it's awesome. So that's just from one page. There are others as well. We got, even yesterday when I announced it, I'm guessing, I think like 5 countries, maybe 6 that responded.
Wow.
All of which that will end up watching this because they watch it all different times. England is 7 hours ahead, and Australia is like next month or something. I don't understand Australia at all.
Well, that's fantastic. If you have any coaching needs, I coach internationally. So TannerThorpe.com. I'm
Nice.
more than happy to work in Australia, Great Britain, anywhere
Oh,
in the world.
nice.
We can go anywhere. It's the
That's
digital
what
age.
dueling citizens, baby. We cross cultures, right?
Right.
You know, people think they do, but they don't. Americans are labeled, like I said in the book, as being labeled as being kind of rockheads, their own culture and stuff. And, you know, it's true. America doesn't care about other countries because America is the biggest bad boy on the block. They don't care. They don't care if you don't like their guns, dude. They don't care, you know?
Right.
So a little rant. Again, it's my show, so I'm allowed to rant. I love that. I'm going to take a quick second here. Thanks to everybody else. If you have any shout outs on your end, Val, let's kind of do that kind of laundry housekeeping. You've been beautifully facilitating. Take 2 or 3 minutes here, Val. We're almost at 45 to the hour. We've got 15 minutes scheduled, but take a few minutes. And any shout outs on your end and any Val stuff, Miss Val stuff, take the next 2-3 minutes.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure if Captain James is coming in, but hold tight. He might be joining us. And I want to, shout out to all of our listeners that are going to be watching on replay this morning. This is a great segment. It's so educational and it's so heartfelt. And it's just like that warm cup of coffee. That's what I'm finding it like. It's awesome. I love it. So it's so great to have you here on the 1-year anniversary, Tanner. And I just wanted to touch on what you were saying. The word I was getting was prioritizing. And I think when chaos hits, it can really like swirl around you. But through that, you set some priorities. And I think that order, I'm a really big fan of order. I think that, that can really solve problems. And a lot of our listeners typically, we're not touching on politics today, but there's some really powerful people that are listening and watching this broadcast closely.
Yeah.
And usually their brains are jam packed with critical decision making. And I think sometimes that your battery it gets depleted and it doesn't recharge as well as it should, and it can. But you're the type of person that can really do a fast charge with people. So I know that there are those that are watching that are listening to this and probably feeling like, oh, this is light. I feel great listening. And these strategies can be applied not just in your personal life, but in your professional life as well. And so when you've got people that are real critical decision makers and, they're making decisions where it's life or death for a lot of people, they can apply some of these principles. So I'm wondering if only if you want to, if you share some of the guiding principles that you talked about on another show of ours. And just to touch base,
Absolutely.
go back to youtube.com, Greg Meekin, and you can catch the full Tanner Thorpe interview that aired December 2023.
And Tanner, before you start, there was going to be secret guests. There's 2 gentlemen. I don't know if they'll be able to pop in or not. One is Captain James McCormick out of Washington, D.C. He is the executive director for government affairs for the Vietnam Vets of America. Okay, he was going to be on to pop in to wish you the best wishes.
Wow.
Because he's a part-time pastor and a part-time writer and everything else. No, wait, I think Captain. God love him, Captain James.
Well, he was supposed to jump on the show a year ago, and we had some technical difficulties then too. So
we always say, and this is just our old brand. This is the kitchen table. You can pop in if you want, but Captain James McCormick, I mean, he's buried in Washington D.C. getting legislation done for the veterans of America. He's in touch with every congressman, every senator. He knows President Trump personally. President Trump gifted him 6 ties for him and his sons. It was first five that Trump gave him. They were Trump ties. Imagine that. ABC, always be closing. And then he gave him a 6th tie because he learned that James had a younger son as well. So there you go. But he was going to pop in. I hope he does. He might. and also Pastor Nathaniel Rios, based out of Oxford. Oh my God, Val, you facilitator. Pastor Nathaniel Rios. Okay, give me a second. And I'll turn the mic back to you one of these days, maybe in 2025 sometime, Tanner. Pastor Nathaniel Rios is based out of Oxford, Mississippi. You are going to know him well, Tanner. Rios is he's an amazing guy. He networks. I'm just going to guess he networks his ministers to. I'm just going to guess. I'll have to ask him numbers. Probably 500,000 to 1 million people.
Fantastic.
He's now has an office in Washington D.C. Also tried to minister, obviously, the Word of God and really a lot of mentorship to young people. So,
love it. I love it.
Pastor Rios, he has a link for the studio. These guys are always on the run, right, Tanner? But Pastor Rios, he's going to try to pop in still today.
Awesome.
And he simply, they just want to talk to you and wish you the best. Hello. What you're not telling people is you walked the plank, Tanner. You walked out of the 6-figure corporate world to be broke in Bremerton, Washington. I've been there.
My total package was just under a quarter, so, and
to everybody out there in Alberta, that means $250,000 a year U.S. funds. So go ahead, Tanner.
Yeah. So it's what's important to me during this time. Obviously I'm trying to build a business and I am also, trying to apply for positions and things like that. But what's important to me in this time is that my boys are watching, right? And I want them to see that I'm not afraid, that I trust in God, that He will deliver us through every storm. That there's a great song. I've been listening to a lot of Brandon Lake lately, and I was listening to him right before the show. But there's another song, and I can't remember who sings it, but the chorus is about there's another in the fire, and it's talking about the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and them being thrown into the fiery furnace. But you know what? No matter where you're at, if you have a relationship with God, you're never alone. You're never alone. So, Val, you wanted to hear about guiding principles. And I love to talk about them. I'm going to give another shameless plug to my brother, Dr. Amin Sanaya. You can find him at draminsanaya.com. I'll send a link so you guys can plug it in there. But he facilitates a national leaderology podcast that I co-host with him. And there's some really great podcasts on there. And we did one on guiding principles. And it was fantastic. Matter of fact, I think I posted that one on my website. But guiding principles, I think, are it's so important to understand what your true north is. It's when we're talking about who you are authentically, you cannot understand who you are authentically without understanding what guides you. Right? So how do I want to put this? I have 3 guiding principles in my life, and I have a personal philosophy about food. But I guess I'll start with where it came from. And the original, I would say my very first guiding principle was forgiveness. Now it's my 3rd guiding principle, but it was the thing that started everything for me. Once I understood, and I was young-ish when I first learned it. I think I was in my early 20s when I first learned that forgiveness wasn't really about anyone else but you. But it really hit home in my mid-30s. And when it happened, what I realized is that I had spent so much outward energy forgiving others, but I'd never forgiven myself. And I still wrestle with the forgiveness of myself piece in certain things. I believe that alcohol is poison. I sacrificed a lot to the god of alcohol. You know, I made that my idol for a number of years and didn't do the work trying to figure out why I needed to retreat into that. I sacrificed, you know, a marriage and a business, and I sacrificed my life. I killed myself with alcohol. And when I came out of that, what I realized is I spent all this energy like trying to heal the forgiveness piece that I needed with others, but I hadn't forgiven myself. I hadn't taken the time to sit with myself and say, you know what, like, you're going to make mistakes. Did you learn from it? You know, or are you destined to repeat it? You know, I think I quit drinking probably, I think I honestly tried to quit drinking 5 times, and got time beneath me, and would relapse, you know, would fall off the wagon. So when I realized that forgiveness is a superpower, it opened up this ability to find out more of who I am, right? Because when you don't forgive yourself, when you have these blocks, you can't dig any deeper, right? You hit that wall and you can't figure out how come I can't get past this wall. You got to do the work, right? You got to journal. You got to figure out, like, where is this really coming from? It's easy to say that it's, you know, this thing that happened right now. My partner and I, we have an agreement that if something bothers us about the other person, we have 48 hours to talk about it. Right? If we don't have that conversation within 48 hours, we don't get to bring it up. Right? But sometimes 24 hours isn't the right time frame to talk about it. Sometimes you need a little space in between there. And what I found in exercising that is sometimes what I'm mad at on the surface or frustrated with on the surface is not really what I'm frustrated with. It's probably something a little bit deeper, may not even have anything to do with the other person. More often than not, I just didn't recognize something about myself, or I didn't hear something, blah, 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 blah. So forgiveness is a superpower. Once I was able to open up that piece of myself and say, hey, okay, I can sit with me. I can forgive myself for the mistakes that I've made. I can look at how I'm making changes and learning those lessons. All right, so what's next? And so that led into my very first guiding principle, which is that you can't control the first thought that comes into your head, but you can control the second. And where that came from was as I was doing the work in myself.
Hey, Tanner.
Well, then, yeah.
We're
running out of time, huh?
No, it's okay. Here's the cool deal. This is where welcome to Daddy's show, man. I love making the rules. It's my show, right? You notice the referee's jersey, dude?
Yeah.
And you know what I have for Val Olsen? I kid you not, is this. So when she misbehaves. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to leave enough time. I want you to really hold that thought, because I'm just saying, I like promise 59 minutes today. Val has major just fun stuff to deal with her family and stuff. So let's do this. I want to leave enough time for anyone out there who loves what you've seen today and heard today with Tanner, Chef Tanner. There's so much published. There's so much stuff out there about you, including my story from many years ago called Chef Tanner. Mm-hmm. I want to leave enough time for you to simply sign off with your signature prayer that you did.
Yeah.
I hope a couple of minutes is enough. Let's have Val say goodbye to you, and I'm going to have her pull the plug at exactly 0.00 on the top of the hour. This is going to be episode 0028. The next one, if you like this stuff, there's another one coming up, right, Tanner? ABC, baby.
Well, I have the end stream, so I'm going to let you go for a few minutes, but we are going to wind down. This was just a taste. I hope, Tanner, you will consider coming back sooner than later. Maybe even next week. I don't know what your week's like, but I feel like our guests have just continually grown on our streams. Nobody's signed off. And so that tells me that we're leaving them hanging. So this was the appetizer.
That's a good thing to do.
That's right. So this was the appetizer portion. And next week, maybe you'll come back and give us the main course. But your prayer is so powerful. I shared it on my Facebook page, and I love, love, love the simplicity of it. People, especially when they're like, well, I haven't talked to God, I don't pray, blah, blah, blah. I don't even know where to start or how to do this. I found that your prayer was just, here's how easy it is, you know? So take it away, go into prayer, and then I'm going to end the live stream.
Yeah. So, you know, Jesus told us how to pray. You know, he says very clearly in the Bible, he tells us the Lord's Prayer. And he says, you know, go in a quiet room and pray this, just have this conversation with God. And so what I've done over the years is, and I pray this prayer every morning. I prayed it this morning. I just personalize it. And I think, you know, that's how you start that relationship with God. You know, so many people feel like, gosh, I don't hear from him. Talk to him like you would talk to your spouse. Talk to him like you would talk to your best friend. Talk to him like you talk to your kid. You know, cry to him, make a joyful noise. All right, so let's go. My Father, you are in heaven, you are in me, you are in all things. Lord, how great are you? How wonderful are you? Thank you, Lord, so much that we could come together today and that we could be a part of this, that you have put this on our heart, that you give us the opportunities, that you bless us with the mediums to be able to share your word and to share your influence in our life, because that's what we want. Lord, I pray that your kingdom comes and your will is done throughout the world. I pray that your kingdom comes and your will is done in my friends and my family. Lord, I pray that your kingdom and your will is done in me and through me. Lord, please give me today my daily bread. I know that you provide for all of my needs. And Lord, please forgive me of my sins and my trespasses, of which there are many, but I know that you wash me white as snow. Lord, please help me to forgive as you do. I freely release any hurts, any judgments I have against anyone else. Lord, I give them to you. Lord, please help me with the temptations in my life. Help me to be strong and see the ways out when I am tempted. And Lord, always protect me from Satan. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. And I praise your holy name. And thank you for your glorious Son. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
Wow. Thanks again, Tanner. So you can visit Tanner on his website, tannerthorpe.com. Greg, Tanner, take it away. Any closing thoughts?
Just thank you, Tanner. Stay tuned for the next episode. And remember, wake up in kindergarten every day. There's so much to learn and so little time, because before you know it, you're in first grade. Thank you, Tanner. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a great conversation. I look forward to the next one. Go forth and do great things. You never know. The life you change may be your own.